Okay. So, right, Rav, what I want to do is there are a few things to go over on this kind of intro so people get a sense about what we're going to be covering and also why we're setting up this series of videos for people to take a look at. But first off, you're a GP. How long have you been practicing for, and why Synergy is my opening barrage of questions.
Okay, I qualified in 1985. Had after a 5-year medical degree. Probably in that 5-year medical degree, I had about an hour of education on diet and nutrition. But the emphasis was that if we ate a healthy, balanced diet, we'd never need to take any supplements. Maybe in 1985, that was probably true because of the availability of certain foods and what was available in supermarkets, etc. I think today that isn't as true. So an hour in my first 5 years of med school on diet and nutrition. I then did a master's degree in sports medicine in 95, and we probably had about a day's teaching on diet and nutrition.
Right.
Most important thing we do every day, apart from exercise and sleep, is eat.
Yeah, quite.
Most people have no idea what they're putting into their bodies. So, as we all know, there's quite a few health supplement companies out there. Some market themselves very well, like Herbalife, 7 C's. If you look on the back of any bus, Vitabiotics will be there.
Yeah.
I chose Synergy because someone told me about it. It took me about 2 years before I took any of their products. But in that 2-year window of opportunity, I did quite a bit of reading about the company.
Right.
And what interested me was that they were founded in 1972. Well, actually, Synergy was founded in 99. The company that took them over, Nature's Sunshine, was founded in 1972.
Right.
They are a company that's very passionate about research and development. They spend about 40 million a year on R&D, which for a health supplement company is quite a lot.
That's incredible, yeah.
They are listed on the US NASDAQ, so they're stable. Because I wanted to make sure that from my own point of view, that if I chose to start taking a health supplement, that the company would still be around in years to come. And I would hope with the background that they have,
Yeah,
that the choice I've made to start taking their products means that as I get older, hopefully I will get older, I will continue to have available something that is hopefully going to improve my health.
interesting. I've never heard anybody actually want that. I've never even thought about that, but it makes a lot of sense. If you find a company whose products work for you, then obviously you want to stay with the company. Out of interest, what was your view of supplements? You know, you took 2 years at the time that you were introduced to this. What was your view personally and as a GP of supplements?
Well, because I did my master's in sports medicine, one of the things I focused on was health supplements and sports people.
Okay.
And it became apparent around about that time that a number of supplements contained contaminants. So if you're a professional sportsman or an elite amateur athlete, you at the end of the day are completely responsible for what you take. It's not your coach, your manager, your nutritionist, your trainer. It's you. You decide what you put in your body. And at that time, probably 20 to 30% of supplements were contaminated. So people were taking something that they thought was helping them, but actually they were introducing something into their bodies that would make them fail a drug test. Now, for the majority of us, that doesn't matter at all. Sure. Because, you know, we're not going to be tested going to go about our day-to-day jobs or lives. So I wanted to choose a company that was rigorous in its manufacturing standards, in the way it sourced its ingredients, and in the quality control of the end product. And Synergy do tick those boxes. And indeed, Synergy are one of the few health supplement companies that I know of where anyone can go and visit their HQ in Utah, They can go and have a walk around the manufacturing plant. I presume you need to give a bit of notice, but the company welcome scrutiny. And I think quite a few of the other health supplement companies don't actually have their own manufacturing plant. They will use a third-party manufacturer. So what appeals to me is this rigor in terms of product development, but also manufacture and ingredient sourcing. That for me is important. They're not the cheapest products, but I believe that you pay for quality.
Yeah, inevitably. So they actually have somebody there that is her, it is a her, I think. Her role is to source ingredients all around the world, isn't it?
Well, I think she manages a team of people who actually source ingredients globally. But
and
the other important thing in this day and age, obviously, Paul, is sustainability.
Yeah.
What you want if you find a good product source is you want to be able to reliably access crops from them on a regular basis.
Yeah.
You don't want a sort of slash and burn approach where you just deplete them of everything they have, deplete the soil of nutrients, because then you're back to square one. You've got to find a new ingredient source. So I think the company are quite rigid in the way, not rigid, quite, there's a word I'm looking for, it'll come to me, quite rigorous in the way that they help growers to sustain crops.
Yeah. Now, I'm also, if I'm right in thinking, that they get as near organic as they can. My understanding of that is because there's all sorts of mix-ups that's going on with the organic label, but my understanding is that they use people who don't use pesticides, insecticides, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the idea, which means that the yields of crops aren't as good, but the quality of the produce in terms of its vitamin, mineral, trace element content is extremely high.
Yeah.
And that's what we've lost from natural foods, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The choices that we make when we go to a supermarket, we aren't necessarily getting what we think we're getting. Because the majority of fruit and veg that we buy on a supermarket shelf will actually have been in storage for weeks, months, or even up to a year in the case of things like apples. And if
that really is the case. An apple can be in storage for up to a year.
I think there's so much information now on the internet, Paul, is that anyone watching this video, go and look how long a supermarket apple is stored for. So they're stored at really low temperatures with virtually no oxygen, which is why they don't rot, which is why they look pristine. But inherently, if you're going to keep something for that long, it's going to be depleted of all the things that you're eating it for, which is nutrients, minerals, vitamins, etc. Yeah. So we think we're making healthy choices, but because of our desire to have a perfect piece of fruit at any time of year, we've moved away from seasonal growing, it seems. Yeah. And we want it now, and we want it, Boxing Day, I want a strawberry. It's my right type of thing. Yeah. We've forgotten the value of food. It's sad.
It is sad. And seasons and cycles and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. The other thing too is flavor, because there is very little flavor in something that has been either forced grown or has been in storage for such a long time. You compare that to something that's naturally ripened, and the difference is massive. Two other things, actually, just while I'm thinking about it. So I came across this company, interestingly, through 3 different sources, and each one of them was a practitioner that I went to see for my back or whatever. And the reason why each one of them used them was because of the quality all the time. So that to me gave me a real insight. If you've got professional practitioners that are using these products, that's their reputation is on the line. So they wouldn't be using anything which is dodgy. The other thing is also that I seem to remember watching a video a while back, and it was of Synergy themselves getting involved in the design of specific tools to help with the harvest of the plants, which is in part because of what you were talking about with the sustainability, but also so that the harvesting process doesn't damage the plants and in any way cause a depletion in terms of their potency, which to me, that degree of taking responsibility right the way through the process is, I mean, I've never heard of it, but, you know, I certainly imagine it's extremely rare.
It is, Paul. And I think, you know, the company applies diligence in terms of the manufacturing process almost to pharmaceutical standards, which is why one of their products, the arginine citrulline product ProArgi, is actually in something called the physician's desk reference in the States.
Right.
And in the US, it's one of the few prescribable health supplements.
Wow.
And I can understand why, because the company apply such care in terms of their rigorous quality control.
Yeah.
And that's appealing. I think it should be appealing for any of us.
Of course it should. Again, another benchmark. So listen, one kind of final question, but it's probably going to cover a big topic, big answer of things. What do you see as a GP? What are your biggest concerns that you see that's going on out there in terms of health? So that's question one. Question 1A. Question 1B is, how do you see the products that Synergy offer as being of benefit?
Okay, have you got an hour and a half, Paul? I
No,
could go on talking
roughly
here.
4 minutes.
Okay. I think the biggest problem that we face as a nation is obesity. And it boils down to education. If doctors aren't being educated at medical school on how to inform people what good food choices are, almost what hope have the general public got?
Yeah.
I think if you've done a degree in nutrition and dietetics, you'll know far more than I will ever know. So you should. But not everyone has access to that level of speciality.
Right.
And really, we have to start learning about food in junior school. And the reason I say that is because 1 in 8 5-year-olds is obese or overweight, and 1 in 3 12-year-olds is obese or overweight.
1 in 3.
So something has happened in those 7 formative years, which are going to inform food choices that those children will make for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
Currently, 27% of the UK population is obese. In 2030, they estimate it'll be over 40%. And obesity is linked to things like heart disease, diabetes, cancer. And we seem to be just drifting into a health crisis. And it's because of lack of education. We probably don't exercise as much as we used to. We aren't informed as to what goes into the processed and manufactured foods that we eat. Sugar is highly addictive, and a lot of manufacturers put added sugar into all sorts of things. Can of tomatoes, soup, things that you wouldn't expect. Smoothies contain huge amounts of sugar. Breakfast cereals contain huge amounts of sugar. And we crave sweet things. And if you remove sugar, people go, that isn't tasty, or I don't like it, because we've become so used to having that stimulant of the sugar craving.
Right.
Which is sad, because we've had no control over it.
Yeah.
About 30, 40 years ago, governments had choices. Was it fat or sugar that was going to be seen as the culprit? And they chose fat, and that's why butter was virtually banned. It was virtually impossible to buy any butter in the UK in the 1980s, and it had to be margarine. But then they realized that synthetic oils used in margarine are actually more harmful than butter, so butter's back and margarine's gone. Yeah. So we, despite our best efforts, we're controlled by the food choices of corporate food manufacturers. So we've had a little chat now about how long fruit and stuff is stored for. We've discussed briefly obesity and manufactured foods. fast food, convenience food, they tend to lack the vitamins, minerals, and trace elements which our bodies need. The human body is a fantastic organism, and it's been designed to self-regulate if you give it a chance. But to do that, it's almost like having a car that's running on petrol, and you don't put the correct petrol in, the car's going to conk out.
Yeah.
Human body is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
If I'm a petrol engined human, I need petrol, I don't need diesel. If
Yeah.
you put the wrong fuel into me, I'll break down.
Yeah.
And it's the same with diet and nutrition.
So when you then look at the Synergy products, then, and presumably, I mean, obviously cancer is still out there, you know, never mind COVID, that's another conversation altogether, but you've got heart disease, that's those obesity, cancer, heart disease, diabetes. I mean, I'm not the doctor here, but I'd imagine those would be the highest ranking things that you're seeing, are they?
They are, they absolutely are. That and respiratory illness through airborne pollutants, again, things we have no control of.
Sure.
So can we do something about it? We probably can, but that's through our own choices. And I think there's so much information on the internet now, and there are so many manufacturers of supplements, and, you know, there's so many fad diets out there, take this, do that, and we can become confused because there is no clear structure on what we should or shouldn't do in terms of our nutrition.
Okay. So bringing it into Synergy now.
Yeah.
How do you see Synergy playing a role for people in terms of education, and then also in terms of the product range? Because they've also got what do you call the health check? Is it called a health check? Is that what?
I think it's called a health check, and it's a basic analysis of someone's physical and psychological state,
Which anybody can do.
You don't need to be a doctor to do it. Is the first thing. Anyone can do it. So if you go to a Synergy supplier, they will be able to go through the health analysis with you. And it just gives you a trend on where you are as an individual. If you take Synergy products, they will probably do one after a period of time to see if there's been any improvement. It's not particularly scientific or rigorous. You don't need to go for blood or urine tests. It's a questionnaire which has been validated in the States, and it's giving you a trend as to your well-being, basically.
So it gives you a proactive, or a way of being proactive in enhancing your health rather than sitting there and waiting until...
Well, it gives you a benchmark as to where you are.
Yeah.
And I think if you're given information, you then have the capability as an individual to decide whether you want to make any change.
Yeah.
It may be that you're fantastic and you're in great health and everything's perfect.
Yeah.
And you go, actually, I don't need your products. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Or it may be that it hits on some areas that you hadn't even thought about.
Yeah.
And you think, do I want to improve those? And Synergy probably do some products which will help those things. It's very difficult to be specific in a non-specific question, Paul. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But it covers all the different areas of the systems in the body, doesn't it?
So basically, the Synergy products contain general nutrients which we need for all our body systems. They have developed a product which helps the cardiovascular health called ProArgi. They have developed something called Flex, which is specifically for joint health. And they're one of the few companies that have looked at the microbiome being those bacteria that live in and on us. They look mainly at the gut health, gut bacteria, and developed a product range called Purify, which helps to reset the gut.
Right.
Everything in our lives starts somewhere. And it's a product which should just help to revitalize your gut microbiome, but it's also dependent on you making active change in your life in terms of food choices, exercise choice, etc.
So just to kind of summarize, the reason why this company impresses you is because of their longevity.
Yeah.
also because of their rigor with regards to the fact they have their own kind of research capabilities and spend a considerable amount on that as well.
Yeah.
The potency of the products, the care of the products, the sustainability of the products, appreciating that, yes, they may be more than other products, other supplements, but when you look at what goes into these compared to what goes into other supplements, which, to be honest, I mean, I know a fair amount of them and a lot of them are a literal waste of money.
Yeah.
Get what you pay for. So you're paying for quality, but also in terms of an overall, it gives people, you see, here's the thing, right? In terms of a health philosophy, you know, we've lost it. I mean, we know we should lose weight, but well, how do I go about doing it? Which of the millions of diets should I do? No, I should take supplements, but which and why and when and all this kind of stuff. And also, can I? Is it okay to?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing there, Paul, is I would say, I mentioned my sort of sports medicine background, and Synergy have taken 3 of their products, which are the Pro RG, the one for cardiovascular well-being, Flex, the thing for joints, and something called E9, which is a natural caffeine supplement. And they've been confident enough to have those assessed, and they are on something called the Cologne list, which means that any professional or elite amateur athlete can take those products completely confident in the knowledge that were they to have a random drug test, they would not fail from taking those 3 products.
Right. So,
and that is a real sort of seal of rigor and quality in terms of manufacturing.
yes.
It means also that they're safe.
Yes. Right.
You know, and that's important. If you're taking a health supplement that you think is making you better, and for whatever reason it contains contaminants or things which shouldn't be in there,
yeah,
which are actually making your health worse,
yeah,
then, you know, that's a disaster, isn't it?
yeah. Right. So 2 final things, 3 actually. One is that, so there is a process now whereby an individual can take proactive responsibility for enhancing their health, is how I'm hearing this.
Yes.
So with that system, so you can almost have your own kind of checkup on a regular basis, you know, and really kind of monitor how you're doing, which I really like the idea of, because it's tangible in that you're going, well, how do I feel? You know, it's like, I feel better. Great. Fantastic. Move on to the next thing. So that's one of them. The second thing, which I find really interesting about this company, is that when they're doing things, for instance, with the gut biome, and from what I've read about the gut biome, it leads almost to everywhere else.
Yes.
So the reason
research would indicate, Paul, that it is so important in all aspects, not only of our physical health, but our psychological health.
Yeah.
But this is a whole nother topic we can move on to.
So, and then finally, you've been taking these for how long now?
3.5 years.
And what have you noticed?
I've noticed that my energy levels are up. My sleep is better. We forget how important sleep is in well-being.
Yeah.
And one of the things that having a diet that's rich in nutrients, trace elements, minerals, is that it helps your gut microbiome, which is one of the key factors in our sleep patterns. Right. So it's improved my sleep, and I just feel better. I feel really well. Yeah. And that's a really subjective thing to say. It's not objective at all, is it?
But in many ways, that's the only thing that matters, surely.
Would I stop taking the products if I had a choice? No.
Right.
Have I stopped taking them for any period of time since I started? No. Because I started to feel so good on them. Okay. Is it a placebo effect? I can't tell you. Okay. Maybe I should stop taking them and see how terrible I feel and start taking them again. I don't know what the correct answer is there. The thing is, there are a lot of other products out there. Yeah. And this is my choice. Yeah. And we all have in our lives choice.
Sure. And I understand you had one particular result with it, so I'm doing this very specifically.
Yeah, I had a bad fracture of that finger, which was quite arthritic, and it was sort of bent like that, and I hadn't been able to bend or straighten it for a while because I'd developed arthritis in this joint, basically, due to trauma. And now I can move it. And that's secondary to taking one of their products called Flex, which is their joint product, glucosamine, chondroitin, and MSM. And for me, it works. Whether it works for other people or not, I can't say. But for me, it works. And I definitely take that because I'm right-handed and it's my right index finger.
Right.
It's very important for me to be able to hold a pen, to grip.
Yeah.
It's my dominant hand. So
Probably
for me,
is more important for you.
For me, this little thing is so important.
Yes, of course. Yes.
But you get used to compromise, and if things aren't working, you go, "I'll put up with it." And but maybe there's no need.
Maybe. Okay, so let's bring this one to a close. What we are going to do is do a series of recordings about the products themselves, each individual one.
Yeah.
For people that are watching this, the idea behind that is we kind of go, you know, big picture and then little detail, or big picture, little picture, I should say, so that you get an overall thing as to why would you take it, what do we think the benefits are. But then for those people that want to go a bit more into detail, we're going to do that, so that you really get as much knowledge. So this is part of the education part of being in synergy, because if you're being in synergy, then the more you know, the better you're informed, the more decisions you can take. We're also going to be doing some live streams sporadically in the Facebook page so that we can add conversations to that in and around, because there are so many periphery conversations to have as well, so that you begin to really kind of take greater responsibility to have greater awareness of your overall well-being. So
yeah, Paul, I'll just add a quick point there. I think people nowadays, we as individuals have to take responsibility for our own health.
Correct.
I think we can't expect the state to deliver the care and do everything for us. You have to try and be as fit and healthy as you can, because as a society, we're living to be older. Having said that, this current generation could be the first generation in over 100 years who will die at a younger age than their parents, purely because of the obesity crisis. But there's so much information out there through the internet. Take responsibility for your own health is what I would say.
Yeah.
Because health now, I think in the UK, is going to have to improve from the ground upwards rather than being enforced from the top down.
Great. And also, why wouldn't you want to if it makes you feel better and, you know, have more energy and appreciate life more?
Yeah.
So that's great. Thanks, Rav. We'll wrap this one up and then we'll get stuck into some products. See you in a minute.
Okay. Speak soon.
Bye.